Hey lovelies, and welcome back to Cappuccinos Confidence. This is episode 56. We are continuing our Money Confidence Month, and today we're leaning into a topic that can feel incredibly heavy, tender, and deeply emotional, and that is debt. I want to begin with a moment that may feel painfully familiar. Picture Leila on her sofa at the end of a long day. The room is quiet, but her mind is loud. There is a mug on the coffee table that has gone lukewarm. Her shoes are kicked off. Her shoulders are tense. She picks up her phone, opens her banking app, stares for half a second, then closes it again. A few minutes later, she once again tries to open it, then closes it. Not because she is careless, not because she is childish, but because in that tiny moment, it feels like the numbers are about to say something crushing about who she is. There's a particular feeling that comes over you when you know you need to look at your balances. You might be making a fresh cup of tea, opening your laptop, or simply scrolling through your banking app when that little whisper appears, I really need to look at what I owe. And suddenly, your chest feels tight. You remember the credit card balance, the Klarna payments, the overdraft, the thing you put on finance because at the time it felt manageable, the emergency expenses you had no choice but to cover. Before you have even opened the statement, the shame starts talking. How did I let it get like this? I should know better. Everyone else has their life together. If you have ever had your own version of the sofa moment, I know you know that with all the gentleness in the world, you are not strange and you are not alone. So many capable, ambitious women freeze around money, not because they are incapable, but because money has become emotionally loaded. The numbers are carrying stress, survival, disappointment, hope, and pressure all at once. But I want to say this clearly and gently. Debt does not mean you have failed. In this week's episode, we dive deep into how to navigate these numbers without sacrificing your self-worth. Debt means there is something in your money life that needs your attention. That is all. It needs a plan, it needs honesty, and it needs boundaries. But it does not need shame. What we're doing here is creating a calmer framework, not a dramatic overhaul, not a punishing reset, just a soft, honest, grounded way to face what is true and move forward with your confidence intact. Part 1. Debt is information, not your identity. One of the biggest hurdles to money confidence is the way we attach our worth to our bank balance. We need to talk about debt. We often stop seeing it as a financial figure and start seeing it as a character flaw. I want you to meet Leila more fully. From the outside, she has it all together. She's hardworking, she replies to messages, she remembers birthdays, she turns up well, and she carries herself like someone who can handle life. She is far from irresponsible, but behind the scenes, money feels like a heavy secret. She has an overdraft that has quietly become her new zero, a credit card balance that keeps hovering in the background, and a few buy now, pay later payments she's been avoiding because each one feels like a tiny accusation. For weeks, she tells herself she will sit down and sort it. She means it every time. But when the moment comes, she opens the app and closes it again. Opens it and closes it again. Her body reacts before her brain can catch up. That is how shame works. It makes information feel dangerous. Then one evening, still sitting on that sofa, she does something different. She takes a breath and says to herself, quietly but firmly, "This is information, not a judgment." And instead of trying to solve everything in one dramatic sweep, she starts listing what it actually is. The overdraft balance, the credit card balance, the buy now, pay later account, the second buy now, pay later account, the minimum payments, the due dates. Not elegantly, not perfectly, just honestly. And that is the moment things begin to shift. Because when debt stays hidden, it grows teeth in your mind. It becomes a vague monster, a looming feeling, a fog of dread. But when Leila writes the numbers down, something surprisingly tender happens. The numbers go from a vague monster to a real number that can be worked with. That does not mean she suddenly loves what she sees. It does not mean she feels glamorous or free, but it does mean she has moved from the panic to clarity, and clarity is powerful. Leila's story is so common because the debt shame turns a financial situation into a character judgment. But here is the truth. Your debt is just information. It tells you where money has gone. It tells you what built up during a stressful season. It tells you what coping strategies you're leaning on. It tells you that a system needs to be reviewed. But it does not tell you that you're a lazy, stupid, reckless, or beyond help. A balance is not a personality trait. A repayment plan is not a moral report card. A difficult season is not your identity. Beating yourself up will not clear the balance any faster. It will only make you feel smaller. And you do not need to feel small to make better money decisions. You need clarity, honesty, and enough self-compassion to stay in the room with the truth. Part 2. Create emotional safety before you look. If looking at your debt feels like a punch to the gut, the answer isn't just do it while you're stressed. You wouldn't try to have a difficult conversation while you're running for a bus, would you? The same applies to your finances. Before you open those statements, you need to create a sense of emotional safety. This isn't about being soft on your debt. It's about being supportive of your nervous system so you can actually stay present enough to make a plan. This part matters more than people realize. When your body feels threatened, even by something non-physical like numbers on a screen, it can move into protection mode. You might freeze, you might avoid, you might suddenly feel sleepy, distracted, irritable, or desperate to do literally anything else. That is not weakness. That is your nervous system trying to keep you safe from something it has learned to associate with shame, fear, or overwhelm. So before you look, create a tiny ritual. Make it feel less like punishment and more like a grounded check-in. So you can try this. Choose a quiet time, not late at night when you're exhausted, and not 5 minutes before a meeting. Make a proper cup of tea or coffee. Use your favorite mug. Sit down properly. Let your body register that you're in a safe this moment. Set a timer. Give yourself 20 or 30 minutes. You do not need to fix your entire financial life today. You only need to stay present long enough to gather the facts. Put one hand on your chest or stomach. This is a simple anchor and can help you come back to yourself if anxiety starts rising. Set an intention out loud. So say something like, I am not here to judge myself. I'm here to tell the truth. Or, I'm here to gather information, not to shame myself. Keep a notebook nearby. Not for dramatic budgeting spreadsheets just yet, but for the simple notes, balances, dates, and anything that helps move the number or numbers out of your head. This is especially helpful if your usual pattern is to rush in, feel flooded, and rush out again. A timer helps your brain understand that there is an endpoint. A hot drink signals comfort. A clear intention interrupts the old shame script. These may sound like tiny things, but tiny things often create the emotional safety that makes honest actions possible. When you create this ritualistic calm, the numbers start to lose their power to frighten you. You're moving from I don't know and I'm scared to I can see what I'm doing, what I'm dealing with. That shift truly matters. Because confidence with money is not built by forcing yourself into a panic and hoping for the best. It is built by teaching yourself over and over that you can face the truth without abandoning yourself in the process. The first step, gentle clarity. Once you feel settled, the goal is simple. List the balances without judgment. Don't worry about a complicated repayment strategy yet. Just get the facts out of your head and onto paper or into your planner. List the lender, the current balance, the minimum payments, and the due dates. This step can feel surprisingly emotional because you are no longer dealing with the fog of avoidance. You're dealing with what is actually there. And while that can feel tender, it is also where your power lives. So when debt stays vague, it feels like a monster under the bed. When it is written down in black and white, it becomes a manageable task. You might not love the total figure, and it's okay to feel emotional about it, but remember, once a number is real, it can be worked with. You're bringing the truth into the light, and this is an incredibly brave act of self-leadership. Part 3. The "What was I trying to feel?" question. For many of us, debt isn't always just about emergencies or poor planning. Sometimes it's tied to emotional spending. I think this is where we need a lot more honesty and a lot less shame. We're often taught to treat overspending like a discipline problem, as if the only story available is that you are careless, impulsive, or unserious. But often, spending is meeting an emotional need, even if only briefly. Maybe you weren't just buying skincare, candles, or another outfit. Maybe you were trying to buy comfort. Maybe you weren't just ordering another takeaway. Maybe you were trying to buy rest because you were too depleted to cook. Maybe you weren't just saying yes to a brunch, a trip, or a last-minute treat. Maybe you were trying to buy belonging, recognition, beauty, escape, or relief. So instead of asking, "What is wrong with me?" I want you to try a softer, smarter question. What was I trying to feel? Were you trying to feel comfort, rest, escape, recognition, relief, beauty, connection, control? This question is powerful because it shifts you out of self-attack and into curiosity. It does not excuse spending that is harming your peace, but it does help you understand it, and understanding gives you options. If the answer was comfort, perhaps the deeper need is soothing. If the answer was escape, perhaps the deeper need is rest or emotional space. If the answer was recognition, perhaps the deeper need is to feel seen, celebrated, or enough without performing. When you understand the need underneath the spending, you can start meeting the need in ways that do not leave you with more regret afterwards. That might mean going to bed earlier instead of revenge shopping, taking a proper lunch break instead of scrolling and spending, planning low-cost beauty or pleasure rituals that still make life feel tender. Asking for support when you're carrying too much. Building more spaciousness in your week so that spending is not your only form of relief. Compassion is the key here, lovelies. You're not bad with money. You are a human being who has sometimes used spending as a tool for comfort. Now, we're simply building better tools and more honest awareness. Part 4. Money boundaries as an act of self-respect. To protect your progress, you need boundaries. I often hear lovelies say they feel restricted by a budget, but I want you to reframe that. Money boundaries are not a punishment. They are a form of protection for your future self. This is such an important shift. Boundaries are not there to make your life smaller. They are there to stop your peace leaking out in 100 quiet places. They help you decide what you can say yes to without abandoning yourself. And yes, boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first. It can feel awkward to say no when everyone else is booking the trip. It can feel exposing to suggest a cheaper plan. It can feel deeply unfamiliar to pause before spending when your usual reflex is to soothe, impress, rescue, or keep up. But discomfort does not mean the boundary is wrong. Often it means the boundary is new. A money boundary might look like the 24-hour rule, waiting a day before clicking buy on anything non-essential, removing friction, deleting saved cards from shopping apps so you have to physically find your card to spend, a spending ceiling, deciding in advance how much you will spend on social plans, clothes, beauty, or takeaways in a given week or month. A not this season list. Naming what you're intentionally not prioritizing right now, so every invitation or temptation does not become a fresh internal debate. Saying no with grace. You can use phrasings like, I'm focusing on some financial goals right now, so I can't make that trip, but I'd love to do a coffee date instead. A slower yes. You could say stuff like, let me check my budget and come back to you, instead of agreeing in the moment and panicking later. Lending limits. Deciding not to lend money you can't afford to lose. Protecting payday. Moving money for bills or debt repayments as soon as you're paid, before casual spending gets there first. Creating app boundaries. Unsubscribing from brand emails, muting tempting sales alerts, or deleting shopping apps that make impulsive spending too easy. The deeper truth here is that boundaries are an act of self-respect. They say, I will not keep making choices that leave me resentful, anxious, or behind. I will not keep performing generosity at the expense of my own stability. I will not confuse access with obligation. Boundaries are protection, not punishment. They protect your goals. They protect your nervous system. They protect the version of you who is trying quietly and bravely to build a calmer relationship with money. Choosing a calmer plan over a dramatic one. Once the numbers are visible, there can be a powerful temptation to go extreme. Leila felt that too, and finally, writing everything down, part of her wanted to swing in the opposite direction. No coffees out, no beauty spend, no fun, no mistakes, cut everything, fix everything, become a brand new woman by Monday. And I understand that impulse. When shame has been building, Dramatic plans can feel emotionally satisfying. They make you feel like you're really doing something. They create a quick burst of control. But dramatic plans often fail because they are built from panic, not from I can't say the word sustainability. If your plan is so strict that it ignores real life, real emotion, and real human needs, it will usually create backlash. You hold it together for a week or two, maybe even a month, and then one hard day arrives. You're tired, triggered, lonely, under pressure, or simply human, and the whole plan collapses because it had no softness in it, no margins, no honesty. A calmer plan is different. A calmer plan asks, what can I realistically afford to repay each month? What support do I need to stay consistent? What habits are making this harder? Where do I need structure? What small pleasures can stay so this doesn't feel like emotional starvation? For Leila, the shift was not glamorous. She did not decide she would never spend again. She decided on something steadier. Pay the minimums on time. Choose one debt to focus extra payments on when possible. Reduce a few pressure points in her spending. Stop pretending she could afford everything she used to say yes to. Review her numbers weekly instead of hiding for months. That is what a realistic plan looks like. Calm, clear, slightly unsexy, if I'm honest, but effective. Lovelies, you don't need a punishing plan to prove you are serious. You need a plan that you can actually live with and stick to. Rebuilding self-trust through small promises. Confidence doesn't return the moment the debt is gone. It returns the moment you start keeping small promises to yourself. This is the part people often overlook. We think confidence will arrive at the finish line, but so often it begins much earlier in the small, ordinary moments of follow-through. Opening the app when you said you would, writing the balance down instead of avoiding it, making one payment, sending one email, cancelling one thing you know you can't afford, asking for truth, telling the truth, starting again after a wobble instead of disappearing into shame. Every small promise you keep becomes evidence. Evidence that you're capable. Evidence that you can face reality. Evidence that you can trust yourself with the hard things. Evidence that change is happening even if it is quiet. This matters because debt can damage more than your bank balance. It can quietly chip away at self-trust. You start to wonder whether you can rely on yourself at all, whether you're always going to avoid, overspend, delay, or spiral. But self-trust is rebuilding and rebuildable, not through grand declarations, but through repetition. A tiny promise kept is powerful. A tiny promise kept, again, is momentum. A tiny promise kept consistently becomes identity. You are not the same woman who was avoiding her email or her mail. You're a woman who is facing her life with calm and intention. And that, my loves, is the true definition of money confidence. Part 5. Start your calm money journey with a soft life budget planner. So, if you're ready to stop hiding from your numbers and start building a relationship with your money that feels supportive rather than stressful, I created something for you. The Soft Life Budget Planner is a gentle, chic digital space designed to help you manage your income, bills, savings, and debt without shame. It includes space for payday routines, debt repayment trackers, and monthly reflections to help you understand your spending triggers. And specifically for debt, it can help you move forward from scattered anxiety to calm structures. So, it's about creating a life where your money supports your peace, your priorities, and your future, one page at a time, and you can find the link to it in the show notes. So, summing up, debt does not mean you have failed. It is a chapter in your story, not the whole book. You are allowed to look at your numbers slowly. You are allowed to ask for help. And you're certainly allowed to change your habits without hating the version of you who created them. I keep thinking about Leila on that sofa. At the beginning, she could barely keep the app open. The numbers felt loaded, loud, and almost unbearable. By the end of her shift, something had changed. Not because she had magically become debt-free, not because every balance had disappeared overnight, but because she was no longer hiding. She had looked, she had named the numbers, she had interrupted the shame, and she had started. And that changes everything. Sometimes the deepest transformation is not that your circumstances are instantly different, it is that you are different inside them. You are steadier, more honest, less afraid of your own life, more willing to support yourself through the truth. That is what I want for you, lovelies. Not just lower balances, but deeper self-trust. Not just a cleaner spreadsheet, but a calmer relationship with yourself. Not just financial progress, but emotional freedom from the story that debt gets to define you. Take one small, gentle step this week. Open one statement. Write down one balance. Make one payment. Ask one question. Take one breath. You've got this, and I'm here with you. I will speak to you in the next one, guys. Bye.